Well, hello, guys. You're listening to Beauty Bites with Dr. K, Secrets of a Plastic Surgeon. And today on the podcast, I want to interview the very wonderful Ryan Greene. Dr. Ryan Greene, originally trained in orthopedics and sports medicine, and he is the CEO and owner of Monarch Athletic Club in West Hollywood. And welcome to the podcast, Ryan.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about what made you go into fitness and starting Monarch Athletic Club.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. When I was training in the surgical space, all I ever wanted to do was be a team orthopedist like my mentor in medical school, and learned quickly that the change that I was really passionate about, which was allowing people to do what they wanted to do for as long as they wanted to do it, was going to be difficult to execute in a traditional hospital setting. Because as you know, you don't get a lot of time, and most people, by the time they get to the hospital, don't really want to worry about what they're doing outside of it. They just want to fix the acute issue. So I had a crisis of conscience, because I realized everything that I thought I wanted wasn't exactly where things were going, but I knew I could still achieve that goal in the sports medicine space, but it was just going to look a little bit different. So I did a fellowship after residency at Mayo Clinic in academia and research, thought perhaps by producing papers, people would read about ways to improve their lives, but realized quickly that that also wasn't going to be as impactful as I wanted to. It was a great experience, but in that period of time between residency and fellowship, I had this idea, oddly enough, from going to Mall of America in Minnesota. If you haven't been there, it's an interesting place, but literally everything is under one roof: food, shopping, carnival rides, hotels. And I was like, why can't we achieve this with health, right? Bring everything into one spot. And I happened to have a colleague who was in LA. He worked as a trainer, and they were going to open up their own facility. And he's a little bit more scientific minded. And he said, how do we make this impactful, beyond just a gym? And I was like, what you should do is bring in a physician, PT, nutrition, put all these things together, similar to what a pro athlete does, but appreciating that the general public, their body's the same cells, same processes, except they're just not paid to play sports. They're paid to be a surgeon, businessman, something like that. So apply those same principles to those people. And that was the genesis of Monarch. So we created a space that has the foundational principles of preventive medicine, movement, recovery, nutrition, and community all in one spot. And our goal was to allow people to understand, if you just do the basic fundamental components of health, one, correctly, and two, consistently, your body will respond very well. But to this point, we've compartmentalized health. So you have to go to a bunch of different places to get to the same result. It takes a lot of time, costs a lot of money. And there's also not a lot of education in, how to stay healthy. And there's a lot of misinformation as well. So we brought together a very highly skilled, intelligent, multidisciplinary team and created Monarch. And when I designed it, the goal was always that it was going to be a medical facility, so that it was like a proper space similar to a clinic, but it just had more components to it. And when the pandemic struck, because we opened in January of 2020, we were fortunate because we were considered an essential facility. So we were able to continue our operations, which has been incredible for us because it's offered a safe harbor for people to continue to pursue their health goals. And all they have to do is show up. So
and you're
it's been a great opportunity.
You are an osteopathic physician. So
Yes,
where
ma'am.
did you do your training in terms of med school or osteopathic school? Did you do osteopathic school?
I did. I went to a DO program in Denver. That's called Rocky Vista University. And then my mentor actually trained at Dartmouth, which is a traditional allopathic institution. So when I went into the surgical space, I crossed boundaries and went to the traditional allopathic side. So one of my points of remorse is some of those manual skills that we learn in osteopathic training. I didn't use them because I went into a facility that was just like, this isn't necessarily something that we do. But I appreciated the osteopathic training because I got a little bit of, the physical therapy, the hands-on type of work, in addition to the traditional medical training as well.
So that's very innovative to have a gym where you can get your physical therapy performed, if you're having aches, pains, and problems. So you can actually
Correct.
do everything under one roof. You can work out, you can also get physical therapy, you can get nutritional support and
Yep.
wellness support.
Yeah, absolutely. So every member, when they join, they have a full medical evaluation. We do a comprehensive metabolic panel looking at traditional blood markers as well as markers of inflammation, hormones, things that you wouldn't necessarily get with just your primary care, partially because we believe your internal environment affects your external environment. Same with you in terms of like skin and things like that. Usually what's happening on the skin is often a manifestation of what's going on underneath. So looking for the root cause. And then after medical, they go to physical therapy. So we do a joint by joint assessment to evaluate how you're moving, what movements are appropriate for you or not. Because right now in fitness, it's just show up to a class or to a trainer and you're just going to do whatever they tell you to do, which may or may not be appropriate for you. And then they move on to the movement aspect, which every member has a 2-day movement evaluation. So we know what your capacity is. And then we build you a program that's reevaluated at least every 8 to 12 weeks from a medical, physical therapy, movement, and then a nutritional aspect, which is in the same bucket as the preventive medicine, to make sure that your body is responding the way that you want it to. And if we need to make changes, we have our team on site that can in real time manipulate your program to make sure that your opportunity for success is as great as it could be.
Amazing. And you guys do IV therapy as well?
Yeah.
IV
Yes, ma'am.
hydration,
So
hydration,
absolutely custom.
vitamins. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's one of those things where, I mean, you probably get it as well. Everyone asks like, what supplements should you take? And it's kind of a loaded question just because, the supplement space, there's not a lot of regulation. So unless you find something that either you've tried or developed yourself, there's a little bit of a gray area in terms of its efficacy. And one of the things that we know works is if you take pharmaceutical grade compounded vitamins and put them straight into a vein. And you can't do that with everything. And ultimately, we still hope that people eat real food and allow their body to absorb, what it needs. But for people that are under the weather or traveling or need to strengthen their immune system, especially in the COVID space, it can be an effective therapy. I just don't want people to walk around with an IV in their arm 24/7. We try to get them to do some healthier stuff.
Well, speaking of supplements, what supplements are you taking on a daily basis? Is there anything you've done during COVID to improve your immune system, and what is that?
Yeah, so from my perspective, daily multivitamin is something that I utilize, as well as I think functional mushrooms are going to be an interesting space in the future. So like adaptogenic herbs. And I have a relationship with a group that grows highest quality mushrooms that I've seen out of Jamaica. So I utilize a cordyceps, lion's mane, reishi blend on a daily basis. And then turmeric. I think turmeric's an incredibly powerful anti-inflammatory. People in the Middle East, their incidence of a lot of the inflammatory diseases that we experience in the US are significantly lower because it's part of their diet. They just eat it on a daily basis. So those are the go-tos that I recommend for most people. Fish oil just depends on the quality. And then for people that are moving, creatine is actually a very interesting one in terms of muscle protein synthesis. It has probably the most evidence-based literature on its efficacy. So those 5 things for the most part is pretty much it.
As a man, do you think that as men get into their 40s and 50s, there's things they need to add to their regimen in terms of hormonal testosterone balance?
Yeah, it's a multifactorial question. I think hormone balance, both men and women, but especially men, there's a lot of things that we do that inhibit successful hormone production that can be mitigated just by lifestyle changes. So sleep, stress, alcohol is terrible for testosterone production. So usually with gentlemen that have, moderate to low levels of testosterone, the easy answer, especially in, LA, is like, oh, I need a cream or shots or something like that. When in actuality, part of the reason that they have lower than, beneficial levels is they're not moving, they don't sleep well, they have a lot of job stress, and they drink too much. So like, what if we changed those things first, saw how your body responded, and then if we need to add something in, that we can do that. I'm a little sensitive to use the analogy, like if the fruit or the leaves are bad on the tree, like try to take care of that. I like to look towards the root cause and figure out what's contributing to these manifestations, if that makes sense.
Is there an age where guys need to get on testosterone supplements, or women need to start taking testosterone blocking things and improve their estrogens?
I think it's different for each individual. It's interesting, and if you look at, and I don't know if you do, hormone labs with your patients, but there was a study that came out that showed that like Quest, LabCorp, places like that actually shifted the reference range of what's appropriate for hormone expression for men and women down for our generation, not because we're producing less, but we're just relatively unhealthy compared to previous generations. That what used to be considered normal is now considered elevated, which always like stood out for me as something that is a little bit odd. Like, why are we tolerating a less healthy lifestyle? So I don't think there's a specific age where I'm like, you need this, but definitely looking at your levels and understanding that the reference range is just that, it's a reference, but like, what should you be based on your activity level, lifestyle, age, and things like that? And how can we get you to a place that's considered healthy for your demographic versus just you're within this 600 point range, you're okay. And I think that's something specifically with testosterone that, most practitioners, not to no fault of their own, it's just something that you look at the range. If it's in range, you're okay. And then, you're not going to be faulted for not doing anything. So it's a little bit more nuanced. Same thing with thyroid. Like, the thyroid health, I think, is something that we don't pay attention to, but hormones for sure, the average American gets one blood test every 2 years. It's like, if you only check the oil in your car once every 2 years and your car didn't work well, you wouldn't be surprised. You'd be like, I haven't really taken care of it. Same thing with the body. So like, paying attention to those things is something that I feel is important. And we built in one comprehensive lab panel at least every 6 months, if not more, just depending on medical necessity. And we have the ability to do it on site, which is pretty cool.
That's nice. So you think every 6 months is what we should be doing after age 30 or so?
Yeah, I think it's reasonable. We found, with our 100+ members that many of them have inappropriate levels of, hormone production or markers of inflammation. And it's evidence to pay attention to their day to day. What are you doing consistently or not? Same thing with the skincare regimen or, anything that has to do with aesthetics. Like, if you use a cream one day and you assume that all of your issues are going to be resolved, like, that's an unreasonable expectation. So we're trying to introduce a greater level of awareness about what's going on with your body and offering an opportunity for you to be consistent and compliant in a space that's safe, but also has the medical oversight that we can follow along to make sure that, what we're doing is effective for you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's nice to have that community of other members that are so focused too, because sometimes the people you hang with influence your habits, and your family may not have great habits, or your friend circle. So at least you have a group that's striving to do it right where you are. During COVID, have you been on high dose vitamin C or vitamin D or anything else that we've been hearing about in the media for immunity?
Yeah. I eat enough vitamin C rich fruits that I would consider my diet to be high dose vitamin C. But I've definitely utilized that therapy with patients, especially those with any type of symptoms, and individuals who have had COVID. I've noticed a reduction in severity as well as duration of symptoms, especially with a higher dose vitamin C. So it's been effective. Vitamin D, I think, is something that everyone needs to pay attention to, because we just do not get as much time outdoors, natural sunlight. And so a lot of people have low vitamin D levels pre-COVID.
I just lost you. Can you still hear me? Because sorry.
Yep. Yep.
I think we just lost that one little segment for some reason. Your screen froze. So maybe we start that one more time. So we'll just start with the vitamin D. Can you hear me again?
Yeah. We're good.
Okay. So, and how about vitamin D?
Yeah, so I think vitamin D is something that we've been battling even before COVID, but now we're appreciating, especially the first couple months when people were afraid to do anything, go outside, get sunlight. Um, it's something that created a little bit more of a metabolic health issue. So with most of my patients, very rarely do I see someone with what would be considered a sufficient vitamin D level, and it's consistent with a lot of their symptoms of anxiety, lack of good sleep, reliance on sleep promoting supplements or medication. So I'm encouraging many people to supplement with vitamin D, regardless of the COVID period. But right now, it seems to be beneficial in terms of their just overall health, wellness, and ability to take care of themselves. Because if you're stressed, anxious, not sleeping well, your immune system's not going to function well, no matter what period of life we're in, pandemic or otherwise.
If someone is relatively new to, joining a gym, or they haven't been working out for a year and they feel like they're really run down, this year of COVID been difficult. Nobody's been able to go to gyms, and working out at home, you do, starts and stops and spurts of enthusiasm, and then it dies out. So what's a good way for us in January to get back to like a little bit more of a consistent, regimented,
Yeah, I mean, the easy part is join Monarch, but for those people that may not be in this area that are listening, the World Health Organization, interestingly, just released their report on minimum daily recommendation for movement worldwide, which is 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity. So, moderate intensity would be if you're jogging with a friend, if you're able to carry on a conversation like we are now, that would be considered low intensity. If it's a little bit more difficult, sentences become more choppy, then that's a moderate intensity. And that's 150 minutes per week. So even just committing to 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week of something that gets your heart rate up, gets your, sweating a little bit breathless, that would be a good start, because their report indicated 80% of the world's population does not meet that minimum standard. Mm-hmm. Pretty troubling. And then the other part is, resistance training, from body composition to hormone production, bone health, prevention of osteopenia, osteoporosis. You have to put resistance on your frame. Bone grows in response to resistance. So figuring out a way that, whether it's buying some weights, some bands, something like that, and working out outside if it's available around where you are, anything that can allow you to put some resistance on your frame at least 2 times per week is a good start. And they don't have to be mutually exclusive. So part of your, the resistance can be cardiovascular. So just committing to 5 days a week, 30 minutes a day, I promise, if you evaluate your daily schedule, you can find 30 minutes to commit to yourself. And if you can't, then I would encourage you to evaluate, what are your priorities? Because if it's living a long and healthy life, these are fairly simple interventions to introduce that anyone can do anywhere in the world. Now that we have basically virtual everything, and in Southern California, we have the weather to support outside activities all year round.
Yeah. What advice would you give to I have a lot of younger millennial clients who I see the spectrum where they're either working out like crazy maniacs every day. So we have those athletic people, and then we have the slugs who stay home on the sofa and they're scrolling with their thumb all day long. And like, they're just not getting a lot of activity. You can do everything mentally these days. You don't have to leave the couch.
Sure.
So is there something that young people
I mean, for the younger generation, like, the ability to interact with essentially anyone you want is unlike anything we've ever seen. And you have the same access to health promoting behavior. So, same thing for them. I think, as I was, telling one of your employees earlier, the behaviors that are introduced when we're young adults have been proven to persist with us throughout our lives. So this is a very crucial time for people to start developing healthy behaviors, healthy habits. And there's no shortage of opportunities or ways to get access to, healthy behaviors, whether it's mindfulness, movement, or otherwise, because there's over 7,000 wearable devices where you can track movement, track sleep, track, whatever you want with regards to health. And now, because we've been relegated to virtual movement, there is no shortage of programs that you can find that essentially try whatever you think would be reasonable and find something that you can commit to at least 5 days per week, even in the comfort of your own home. So whether it's dance, spin, CrossFit type stuff, there's plenty of things, yoga, Pilates, whatever. Just try things as long as you're committing to, movement at least 5 days a week.
Well, Ryan, it's been so nice chatting with you. It's a really innovative idea. This is like the first of its kind, private, sustainable health and wellness, everything under one roof. I love the idea that you can go work out and also get your body optimized internally as well as externally at the same time. So congratulations on starting up the Monarch Athletic Fitness Club over there in West Hollywood. I can't wait to come visit you.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on by. We'll take good care of you.
Yeah, for sure. Where can all my listeners find you if they're interested to?
So my Instagram is at Dr._Greene with an E at the end, Greene with an E at the end, _DO. So Dr._Greene_DO. Monarch is at Monarch WeHo. And then our website is monarchweho.com.
Amazing. Well, I think it's so important. It's the things we do daily that make us who we are. It's the everyday habits. And that goes for skincare, beauty, fitness, everything, the brain.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not consistent, the body won't respond well, from skin on down.
And in January, I encourage all of you guys out there listening to go get your physical, get blood work done, check your engine oil, like you said. It's been a while since I checked mine, so definitely motivated by this conversation to go get a full checkup.
And skin health too. I mean,
definitely.
Admittedly, I haven't had a proper derm evaluation in a long time, and I think after having this conversation, I'll probably give you a call and have you take a look. So,
for sure, you can't live in this vehicle for 80 years and not put some maintenance into it, right?
100%.
Well, that's it for now, guys. Thanks so much for listening in. And don't forget to find me on my Instagram at Beauty by Dr. K, DRKAY, doing amazing things with people's faces. And our website is the same. It's www.beautybydrk.com. And that's where you can find my amazing skincare things you can do every day to improve your skin health and your body health. Mental health, it's all very important. So this has been a hard year. I really want you guys to take inventory of your health and start fresh in January. That's it for now, guys. Stay beautiful. Thank you, Ryan.
Have a good one. Have a nice day.